Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Today, I'm here with Dee Merz, a medical intuitive, and she has been a teacher and a healer for me on my journey. She has helped me in some of the most challenging times of my life, and I've always felt so seen by her, and we really align on how we see energetic reality. And it's such an honor and a pleasure to have you here with us today, Dee. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and so for the listeners, since they don't, and no, actually, and even though I've known you for many years, I actually don't know, how did you get started in all of this, in the medical world?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say it's such a pleasure to have met you in my life, and that I've always seen the most incredible beauty with you. I know we talked so many times in the past, and I was always struck by there's something very special about you. You had a very special language. You remember those conversations that we had that were like, wait a minute, there is a voice here of this higher frequency. And a lot of people don't get to that higher harmonic frequency and understand that language. However, when you were speaking, there was a tone and a cadence, and it was a wave. And so then that was this beautiful awakening that I saw within you, that you were beginning to own that part of yourself. That was so beautiful, because I think a lot of us sit in not trusting ourselves and the things that come through naturally, especially when they're different from someone else.
Yeah. And so just for the listeners, Dee's referring to my light language. And because of channeling and the different ideas about channeling, I went through a crisis for a moment of like, is this something I close down and not do, or do I allow myself to share it with the world more? And it was through and after sessions with Dee that I decided I was going to share it more. And so, yeah, thank you, Dee, for seeing that. And I do know that when I share it with others, they really do feel what you say, like an awakening, a remembering, because it is connected to these other higher realms and frequencies that are here to help us remember our divine nature.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I'm really excited about it, because right now in the whole universe, actually, that is a language that we will see a little bit more, but you're well seasoned in it. So it's that higher frequency. And we know that we want to be able to be more light bodies, so that when we are flowing in that fifth dimension, that higher dimension of energy, everything's going to be a little bit different. Our whole evolution is going to be different. And so I'll move into a little bit about me and where I began on this, and what questions I had for myself that brought me into this field of energy medicine. And then I know we'll talk a little bit further about how that light language and how the higher frequencies, and where we will release a lot of the energy of the third dimension. Okay. And that's where we're going to be moving to. On that note, thank you for being here, everyone. And in my life, I had a career of I was catering because I love cooking from my grandmother, and I had started a career in catering, and that led me into event planning, and then that led me into the beautiful field of planning extraordinary weddings in the Napa and Sonoma area. And I see how that all plays a part now. I was planning weddings for about 16 years in the Napa Sonoma area. And one of the things that happened was that I had an incident where I just sort of wondered, wow, how does all of this work together? Because there's another part of me that's coming into my life. And that part of me is asking me to understand, how does the mind, body, and spirit work? And that question, an inquiry, which I think is absolutely essential for anybody to ask, will give you the answers back. And it led me to finding a study where I learned that, wait a minute, we're not just getting along here in this world kind of willy-nilly. We actually can begin to manage our energy. And so I took a course. It was called the Academy of Intuition Medicine. And I love that course. It taught about how are we connected to the earth? How are we connected to Gaia, which now I refer to as a spiritual energy. That energy of Gaia is so, so important. And we can all find it because it is in nature and it is a spiritual energy. And then I discovered the energy that was inside of me, which is called our life force energy or our original essence energy. And that energy, that whole fullness of energy is what connects us to all that there is. And we all know that there's something much more than what we think of ourselves as just the human. We're connected to the greater source, the source of all creation. And from there, I learned many things, which I implement into my life now. And I actually stayed there for 15 and a half years being a teacher at the Academy also, which is where Dr. Nikki Starr and I met. And so then one day while I was planning a wedding, something extraordinary happened. And I had been experiencing like a guidance system with me. And that guidance system was tapping on me and it was telling me there's something more. But I hadn't really like tapped in and paid attention. But I was at this incredible private estate in Napa. And in that estate, it was going to rain. And I had these people and 200 people, like all from New York. And all of a sudden, the skies were dark, not just in my area, but probably about 60 miles around me. It was a freak storm that had come in. We were all set for the dinner and the dancing. We had a tent for that, but the mother and I discussed having a tent for this really beautiful area that we were going to have ceremony. And she insisted no, and I was like this, praying. And so sure enough, it started having little drops of rain. And I remember I'm going to have to call up all my favors, right? And I'm not just talking call people on the telephone for this. I'm talking about call up a big favor from my guidance. And so what I ended up doing is we were getting ready for the processional. I kind of ran behind this building and I'm like, oh man, I'm just praying, pray, please, 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 I'll do anything you say. And I'm serious about how I did this. I will do anything and I will listen to everything that you say, but please don't let it rain. And so I go back out and all the guests are sitting and it's drop, drop, drop in this exquisite French garden. And here comes, first we seat the parents, right? The parents get seated in the front to welcome their daughter or their son into the marriage. So the mother comes by and she's just furious. She's like, not a super nice person. I always had great people, but this one was going to be a problem if it really started raining. And so I get her down and she's just mad as she's walking down the aisle, but I have to go beyond, right? I just have to trust that something way beyond anything that I could ever even imagine. And so here comes the bride in her cathedral train and her dad. and she's standing in front of me. And all of a sudden, I look up on her left shoulder, and the sun is shining on it. And I look up and I see like the sun, it's like 5 o'clock, right? So the sun is coming out. And then that whole area above the ceremony, it just cleared up. Like it cleared up. There was no rain here. And I was just like, oh my God, right? This happened. It didn't rain at the ceremony. We made it through the ceremony and the event went on. However, I had a huge responsibility now because my guides were telling me that this career that I loved was going to be changing and I was going to be doing something. And it became very clear to me. And they even told me how long I would be doing things. All they wanted me to do is go into this work of energy medicine, offer my services and support to others, be of service. That's what they wanted. And it took me a few years to really pull myself out of the weddings and giving my business, handing my business over to somebody else. And then as soon as I was like, just pretty much aware that I'm going to change my career, I was looking for a place to have my business. And a little studio came up and it was beautiful. It was located in Sausalito, California. And I knew as soon as I sat in there that that place was meant for me. It had the mountains. It was right by the water. Everything was absolutely perfect. It's like I walked into the perfect place for me. And I've now been there almost 10 years. I did let go of the weddings, and that was okay because I had great people who wanted where I was and they wanted my business. And then I began to set myself up. And again, it was just like anything in my life. When I did what I was meant to do, the passion in my heart, everything opened up. And so people came. And so my business is thriving even through the pandemic. It's been thriving. And so I have a lot of gratitude. But what it has instilled in me is trusting myself, looking for the signs, paying attention to everything that's happening, learning through my clients. My clients are my learning experience, which helps me to dive deeper and deeper and deeper in to the knowledge of the universe. This is about the universe. This is about how we survive and learn and the universal laws and everything that is very, very important. And so that delving in, I had known through my experiences of participating and in working with other people that I work spirit to spirit. So that means you are a spirit in a physical body having a human experience. But that part of a person is absolutely essential to me. That's their essence. And it came naturally. Everybody has tools. Everybody has a very special way. That's how we're made up, that there's a wholeness to everyone where they can tap into their special gifts. For me, it turned out that I see within and I'm looking for the origin of something that is an illness inside of one. And so I'm going through the body. So I would be going through and scanning a physical body, a mental body, an emotional body, and the spiritual body. And so when I'm connected to the spirit of another, that spirit wants me to recognize what is happening with the other person. And so it's my spirit that's actually working with that other spirit. So they become in alignment. I'm the one that's translating the information back to the other one. And so with that work, we're always looking toward what is going to help make and serve the other one so that they can live in their wholeness in a state of grace. Because grace is something that we have inside of ourselves. It's knowing ourselves. It's our essence energy. It's understanding our connection to the earth and the important. And it is also the recognition of us understanding that we are connected to the divine creative source. And that is the utmost piece with this alignment. We're in the middle, connected to the earth and connected to source. We hold those other energies inside of ourselves. That magnifies all of our energy. It helps clear us of other diseases or some physical ailments, and being at peace with ourselves, finding the stillness inside. And it really does take that part of us that creates a stillness. We can, when we're still, we're in present time. And so when we're in present time, we then begin to connect back to ourselves. And when we connect back to ourselves, we discover that this part of ourself is like the tranquilizer to our soul. This is where the information downloads. We have it inside of ourselves. We just need to allow ourselves to tap into us. We're the seed. We have that seed of the creator inside of us.
Absolutely.
And so,
I'd love to just chime in here to share a bit about, because a lot of this terminology for us, like I understand everything you're saying because we speak the same language, but for anyone who's listening, it's important for you to know that you have this spirit aspect of yourself, which is like the all-knowing wise you. But then you have your human self that can be affected by distortions in the field, as well as programming, and many things can create confusion. And so that's why having that daily practice of meditation or whatever allows you to get still within yourself so that you can listen to and connect to your spirit. And the other piece, which is something that I feel with the academy, I really learned this as well, is a lot of people their spirit is not incarnated in their body. So people are not operating at their highest capacity or at the level of truth. And truth meaning the blueprint of your soul, like what you came here to live. And so when we talk about living in a state of grace, it's to live with more ease and flow instead of trying to make things happen. And you're like, but I don't understand why I'm suffering or why it's not happening so easily. And a lot of this work, the energy work of supporting you and incarnating into your body to be able to become still and listen to yourself, to see what distortions or blockages or whatever's happening in the energy field, in the body, in the mind. And when we start to clear out all that's not the true you, then once that's clear, you can start to listen and really act in alignment with why you came here, with your soul, etc. And so, yeah, I think that you've done a beautiful job of sharing about that. And maybe you want to add a bit more of like what else you specifically mean by like living in a state of grace.
mm-hmm. Yeah. You summed that up really beautifully. And one of the pieces that is so important is knowing about your own energy. Having a discovery made of going into your heart space. When you access energy, making this discovery of yourself, when we go into this center place, our heart space, it's like a portal, and that portal has this information about who you are, what your energy is like, the vibration of your energy, perhaps like colors and feelings or images that come up, and the beauty of who you are. And for some of us, because of some of the earlier programs that we had from the moment we were born, we are getting our information from those who are our birth parents, and those who are our teachers and any kind of programming. It all starts then. It starts before our eyes are opened. It's what we hear, what we feel, what we're sensing. And so when we go into our heart, we rediscover what was always there. And sometimes there may be something that comes up where we're afraid to be who we are. We may hold, I'm embarrassed to be as beautiful as I actually am. Or we may come in contact with the love and not feel worthy of that love. And so when we go into a deeper discovery and have acceptance for who we are, allow us to look at the challenges, know that we have these challenges, and they're old challenges. There's something from the past that didn't even belong to us. We can actually make a choice to say, well, that's not even mine. Oh my goodness, that was my grandfather's, or that was my mother's, or that was my sister's. That isn't even mine. There's a moment we can make a choice, and we can change our intention of how we want to feel about ourselves. And that is another thing where intention is so important in affirmations that we use. We need to program our energy system to accept who we are and to be able to come into a state of love, a state of stillness inside of ourselves. When we're still, what happens is that part of our heart, that energy inside of our heart fills our heart, it fills our body, all our systems, and then it expands into, perhaps you've heard the word aura, the bubble of energy or a membrane that we're in. And it fills that space that also holds information and energy. It's why we notice like a person who's really charismatic, it's their energy that's around them. Or maybe a person that, oops, we don't want to be by that person. That doesn't feel good. We know instinctively because the information is all around us. We're holding that field of information for ourselves. That is our energy.
Absolutely. And what I really started to understand when I dove deeper into energy anatomy and studying energy and how it interfaces with the body and distinguishing our energy from other people's energy, the truth is when we are in our own energy and all of our own energy fills our body, we feel so much pleasure. It's like so pleasurable. And when there's pain, that's a sign someone else's energy, some other energy is in your field. It's not you because there's a dissonance. And I think for me, that's really where I realized after all my medical training, we really can heal everything with energy work. And to me, that's the true cure. And it's a lot of it is about us learning how to really incarnate into our body and do the energy hygiene to clear out everyone else's energy. Because even when people feel anxious, I feel like it's because someone else's energy, they're not in present time, and or there's someone else's energy in your field, and or you're not in your body. You're somewhere else, and then you're feeling these energies that doesn't feel good. But the moment you're fully in present time, you're in your heart, you're full of yourself. And I always thought that was a funny thing of like being full of yourself is a good thing. It is good. You feel so much pleasure. It's like you're high. Like who needs drugs? Just get high in your own energy.
Totally. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I've reached some really wonderful, very higher dimensional places that are available to us to go to. And I haven't really done any experimenting with it, with anything else that's outside, but there are some wonderful things out there also. I feel like you tapped on something that was really important, and that we don't realize that every relationship and every conversation that we have is an energy exchange. We're not doing anything wrong because we're having a conversation, and not all conversations are pleasant. We take on other people's energy. If you're maybe you see something that's devastating, and your eyes are taking in these pictures and something's happening, and then you start holding a feeling in your body, and then it gets located in one of the energy centers, also referred to as a chakra. Well, we need to gift that back. We can't just what I mean by gifting back is, how do we separate one's energy from another, whether it be an event, whether it be an image that we see, whether it be an illness or a feeling that we're having. And we'll do a little exercise about that a little bit later here in this podcast, so you can learn a little technique that every single person can do. And the other important part about this is we do want to be in a quiet space when we're doing our work. We want to be in a state of neutrality. We want to be just slightly disconnected from everything else, so that we're more aware of what's going on inside of ourselves. We're comfortable with ourselves, and then we can implement some beautiful techniques that work for everyone and every time. So we will do that today. And also the other part about being able to access your energy and finding out that you truly know that there is this place of, it's a divine grace. It's that you are connected to all that there is for all of us. That it's a place of comfort. It gives comfort to you. So you would probably understand that it gives comfort to your physical body. But there's something deeper that, if you look inside and ask yourself, where else is that comfort, that you realize that, oh, I'm sorry, that is actually on my computer. Sorry. That's your energy, which we refer to as the original energy. So if you imagine that, just a little example of, you're not just a human being, you're more than a physical body. Therefore, you know that there's more than just physical matter. There is that essence part. So imagine that before you're born, there's a great sun, and it's just beautiful and radiant. And that's energy. And it has all the rays all around it. Well, here you are, a little tiny baby, and you're going to be born and come into this earth plane. A little tip of that flame of the light comes in. It comes from the top of your head, flows through the center channel to the lower sacrum area. It is flowing and igniting life into your body. It's also going into the energy centers that all relate and are connected to the endocrine system. So that light moves top of the head, pituitary, pineal, the thyroid, the thymus, the pancreas, the adrenals, to the whole reproductive region. And so that light is the same light at the very end of your life that will leave this vessel that it's in and return back to the sun. So all the time, we want to know and get to know this energy. It resides in our heart like a big sun. And that big sun energy expands in us and around us. And so, again, we will do that in a little bit also, so that you have that feeling.
Yeah, is there any last thing you want to share before, as we close now, before we go into the bonus? Is there any last words of wisdom, or do you feel complete? And if you do, you can share where people can find you if they want to connect with you some more.
Okay, thank you very much. Imagine that your purpose on this earth plane may be that you remember who you truly are, that there is more to you, that you are love, because love is the highest vibration. And each one of us, in our own way, we know what that is. Because we came from that field of love, because we came from that higher dimension and from divine source, that's love. So here we come onto this earth plane, and we're here, and we are always searching for that love. That's what we're searching for. The most important part to know is that is inside of you already. It's for you to discover. It's for you to have, to hold, and to live with in that beautiful state of calm, serene, still grace. That's important.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful.
So
Thank you.
I think that at the end, we'll put my website in. Again,
So just so people know, it's deemerz.com.
It's Dee Merz Energy.
Oh, deemerzenergy.com. Okay, perfect.
deemerzenergy.com. You can access a lot of information from my website about my intention. I also specializes in soul retrieval. There are millions of bits of ourselves, and we get to bring in what we bring in this lifetime. And when we clear things out, sometimes that's the most important part, is bringing back more of your energy. There's some interviews also online, which you might really like, and those are projects that I've worked on. Or one that I would say very, very quickly before we move on is that also how much our mind and our brain waves are all needing the coherence of us to still our physical body in order for us to maintain that place of stillness for ourselves. So that could be another conversation for another day. But there is a video online that you could access that would help you to get to that place.
Okay, beautiful. And so thank you so much, Dee, for joining us today. Everyone else, you can continue on inside the bonus to receive the guided experience to live in a state of grace that Dee will be guiding us through. And we thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content, and remember, every Monday the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the ascension path with me and for doing this great work.